You saw we had Chihuahua Carl, my partner in crime, the little statue, because I don't want to be here by myself. And now Carl, my real partner in crime, is back, and he's going to be our guest for today. We're going to talk about osseointegration surgery and how things are going from your last post-op. But before we get started, we'll do a brief introduction to what Amputee Aid and what Life Amplified are. And then we'll jump into some questions with Carl. And we are inviting all of you, if you have questions, you can ask them too. This, as always, is a group effort and a group process. And near the end, we're going to spend some time, Carl, talking about some episodes that we have coming up.
Yeah.
We have lots of things planned and lots of guest speakers and different topics. So please stay to the end of our webinar and so you can hear about the things we have coming up for all of you. We can get your feedback for things that you might like to have us talk about, and you can write down the dates on your calendar that you want to attend. Hopefully it's every Wednesday at 2 o'clock on Zoom, Eastern time. But if you can't, then at least you'll know what things are coming up. Yeah. So Life Amplified is our weekly webinar here at Amputee Aid. We are here in Pittsburgh. It is cold and rainy on the first Wednesday of fall. We'd love to know where all of you are from. So if you've been here before, you know I love engagement in the comments, okay? So say hi and tell us where you're from, even if we already know, because people on the Zoom might not know where you are. Thank you, Kim. Hello. And for those of you who are new, welcome in. This is a webinar that we do for free every Wednesday at 2 o'clock Eastern time on Zoom. It is recorded. So if you are worried about having your face on camera, don't worry about that, because the only recording we have is of us. And whoever is talking, maybe we want to mute because we can hear other people. So we'll take care of that. Thank you very much. Although if you do want to talk to us, unmute yourself or raise your hand. We'd love to have you talk. So just know, though, that because we are recording, if you are talking with us, we can hear your voice on the recording. So when we share these on YouTube every Friday and by email every Friday, just know your face will not be present, but your voice will be. If you're worried about that for any reason, you can always put your comments in the chat, and Lucho or Angie will read them for us, or we'll do our best to read them, maybe squinting so we can see them too, okay? But this is a group discussion. We would love for you to be engaged at any point in time, particularly with sessions like today, where we're asking questions of Carl. All right. If you are watching the recording, hi to you as well. Please put in the comments on YouTube where you're from, because we want to know how far we reach. Carl, you founded Amputee Aid as a Pittsburgh-based nonprofit, but with the goal of serving people everywhere.
Correct.
Right? Yeah, and our goal is to provide stuff, the things that people need and the support that goes with it, right?
That's right.
And that's for people in limb loss and limb difference communities. So whether you're here with us in Pittsburgh or you're in Indiana, you're in Fort Worth. Hi, Crystal. I always like seeing Crystal's face because I like her profile picture. Hi, Crystal. I meant to tell you that last week when you were on. We see John from Central PA, another Pittsburgher or Pennsylvania person here. Hi, Crystal. And hi from Salt Lake, Utah as well. I think that's Mr. Luna. So, and I see some West Virginia also. So thank you very much for all of you for telling us where you're from. Okay, so let's dive in, right, Carl?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm glad that you're back. Although I got a little preview of how your post-op surgery went. For folks who are new, if you could just give us a real brief summary of what we're talking about. You had osseointegration surgery, right?
I did. I had transtibial osseointegration surgery, so that's basically for below the knee, which is, I believe, pretty rare and new, at least here in the United States. So,
and especially for below the knee amputees like you.
Right.
Yeah. And you had that surgery where?
I had that done in New York at HSS, which is a hospital for special surgeries. And I did that on August 29th.
Okay, so we're a month-ish.
Yeah, just shy of Friday will be 4 weeks.
Will be 4 weeks. And if you all were with us 2 weeks ago, we had a full deep dive discussion about what the surgery process was like. And we had you record some videos for us, which are on our social media and on a podcast that we did. If you want to see the first 3 days of Carl post-surgery. And
they weren't pretty.
I mean, you looked good, but I would say questionable as far as the coherence of, of the discussion. You can see a very significant change from day 1 to day 3, which I have to share with you up front. I was surprised at even the second day how much more lively and active you were.
Yeah,
were you surprised by that?
Extremely surprised. I was expecting a more, debilitating recovery, or as far as dealing with pain and just, but it wasn't. It was very. I guess it was it exceeded my expectations outside of that. Like I was expecting it to be much worse. It wasn't. It was tolerable. It was moderately painful. And, I thought I handled it fairly well. I was ready to get out of the house and go do something.
Right,
so.
you were. And if you were with us 2 weeks ago, we talked a lot about the surgery process itself, the pain, the where you were, where you had it done. And we had some questions about, what the actual implant was like. Particularly like how far it went up, what your long-term prognosis was. And we thought, well, because of those questions and because of the questions we weren't able to get to, we would do a second session today and talk in more detail about your post-op appointment, what the recovery process is like, what this setup is in front of you, and that kind of stuff, so that we could continue answering the questions that we had from last week or 2 weeks ago. But also we could answer more questions from all of you. So if you have questions, whether it's something you've researched, maybe you're considering the surgery, maybe it's a hard no for you. You're worried about infection, you're worried about bone density, you're worried about having to relearn to walk, activities. Big takeaway today is this is a personal decision, and we want you to talk to your doctor, but we're sharing Carl's input about how things have gone since your first appointment. Okay, so let's start.
Sure.
When was your first post-op follow-up with your doctor?
Last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday. Okay, literally a week ago. Right, that's why we had Chihuahua Carl here instead of actual Carl. And how did it go?
Well, other than navigating the airport, I thought it was.
Okay.
I got. We did some X-rays, so I actually shared those so that we can post that on our website as well. So there's before and after photos, so you can see how the implant, where it goes, how far up it goes. Kind of what it looks like from that standpoint. I think there was some questions about what happens with the other bone. You got the tibia and the fibula. So
talk about that a little bit, because I have to say, so I will share the X-rays. I imagined the implant was much smaller or maybe shorter than it actually is. And someone had asked a question 2 weeks ago, like, where does it go, kind of around the bone, in the bone, what happens to the other part of the bone? Walk us through what you know about, A, the length of the actual implant, and B, what happens with the bone that the implant, I guess, replaces, if that's the right word.
So in the bone itself, it's not 5 inches, but it's over 4 inches.
Okay.
And then there's about 2 inches that will stick out of the leg. But overall length is about 6 inches, almost 7. Okay. And it's basically what they did was they drilled a hole inside your bone, and then they, for lack of better terms, they hammer the implant in until it seats properly, and it's flushed and cleaned and all that too. But that's essentially it. And there are videos on YouTube you could open that actually show kind of not live, but they're more animated, but they show the specifics of what they do. But it was a very clean surgery. It was under 2 hours. Recovery was not bad. Obviously it was major surgery, and there was some pain associated with that, mostly discomfort, and I struggle with sleep and everything. But I mean, the actual surgery itself was pretty quick and in and out kind of scenario.
And am I right, Carl, that part of the idea is that the bone grows around or fuses to the implant?
So the implant has a porous shaft. So the bone over time grows into those pores and kind of calcifies and makes it a little more sturdy. I'm still working through that. That's why we're going to talk about loading later. That helps stimulate that growth and allow it to heal. So you're slowly just getting stronger and stronger and stronger as it starts to grip that implant.
Now, 2 weeks ago, someone had asked a question about bone density and whether you had to have any tests for bone density. And if I recall correctly, the answer was no for you based on your health. But did your doctor at all talk about whether other people might have to have a test like that, or whether there's any concerns about the density of a bone?
From my understanding, based on the X-rays and the CT scan that they conducted, that gave them an indication that I was a good candidate. That I'm sure if there was other signs or things that would have concerned them, they would have took a step further and evaluated that. But I personally didn't there was no second evaluation.
Yeah. So, and this is why having a consult with a doctor who performs the surgery is so important. That's something that we can help you with. If you're interested in learning more, these are the kinds of questions you would want to talk to your doctor about, right, Carl?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, they're going to do, they're not just going to say, we'll sign you up, right? That never usually does not happen with a doctor. There's lots of testing and scans and things that are involved.
That's right.
Presumably, if there's a question about your bone density, then A, you would ask it, but B, it would show up on one of those scans, and that's a conversation you'd want to have with your doctor.
Yeah, and I mean, they were very thorough when I did my initial consultation. You know, I asked questions, but they also gave information. So before I even had a chance to ask some questions, they addressed a lot of them, which were probably because they're commonly asked questions.
Yeah.
But the biggest topic for osseointegration is always going to be infection.
Yeah,
You know, and once you get past that conversation, then now you're talking about personal choices, things that you like to do or don't care about, which are whether or not this is right for you kind of scenario. But infection is probably going to be at the top of the list for, if there's pros and cons, that's going to be a big con.
Right.
You're going to have to be very mindful of infection.
Right. And that there is a risk of infection. And for some people, that does happen. If you're one of those people, this might be a triggering conversation. So we should say that up front, right? We don't want to suggest that there's no risk of complications here.
No.
There is. Okay.
That's
but
correct.
for you, that has not happened, or at least it was at this point in your life a risk that you were willing to take, considering the benefits to you.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's talk more about your first post-op appointment, which, by the way, Carl sent me pictures. You sent me pictures of your doctors, and you did not tell us how nice your doctors look. So hopefully we'll have them on a podcast.
What'd you call him? Dr. McDreamy?
Hello. So if there's any way to entice people to come to our webinars and our podcast, that might be it. All right. So we have videos, and I was mostly struck by this is your doctor?
I would
Carl?
just point out that that hospital, period, like, I don't know why, or maybe there's something in the water, but everybody at the hospital for special surgeries seem to be like, there must be some prerequisite for, good-looking
like
people.
Ripped and good-looking models. I don't know. So anyway, but also very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And so when you went there, one of the things that they talked about was what you have connected now to your limb. And I'd like you to talk about what this is and what you have in front of you, so we kind of understand this next phase of your life.
Yes. So this is the actual connector that it's basically one screw that connects it to the end of the implant. Today they put this small square pad on there because I'm training right now on loading it, which is just putting pressure up on it to start to slowly increase the weight, which is why we have a stool here with a scale sitting on top of it.
Yes, we're going to do a demo in a minute.
Yeah.
And I will say, I know on the recording, it's kind of a darker background, so you might not be able to see this. We'll take a picture of it also. It's like a black, I wouldn't call it foam, but it looks like foam.
It is. It's just solid. It's 2 layers.
Thick foam.
Yeah.
So it's not going to it's not malleable. It's not going to fold over, but it is kind of foam-like.
Reminds me of the stuff that they would put in a gym on the floor, like a gym mat, not a wrestling mat, like those kind of impact. This is more like the place where you would drop weights and protect the floor.
That makes sense. And the connector that you have there is kind of a silver type of connector. Is this the connector that you will use for a prosthetic as well?
That is correct. So
I see.
Once I'm done loading and no longer need that foot, if you will, it's on there, they remove this pad, and then this, it's hard to see here, but that is the actual connector. So, and we'll post photos of this on the website so everybody can see it up close. But it's one torque screw. It's a size 30 torque wrench, basically. It's easy, twists right out, and this comes right off. It's very easy to take on and off.
So is there a special type of screw that you have to have with this, or can you just go to like Home Depot or Lowe's?
They gave me one that came with it, which unfortunately I left in my car.
Oh, okay.
But I bought one at Home Depot. They sell them. You can order them online. It just so happens that they gave me a smaller one. It was easy to throw in your pocket. And obviously I was worried that if I lost it, how would I get this off? So I had to go buy many options.
Yes, it seems to me we need to make keychains for that. Maybe that's something we can do as a fundraiser at Amputee Aid.
There you go.
Keychains for folks who have osseointegration, so you don't lose that, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Now, is there anything special about that a prosthetist would need to know about the kind of connector that you have?
Yes, because not every foot is going to connect to this type of connection. So there's quick connections and things like that, but the the different sizes where there's 4 screws that you can't see that are here.
Okay.
Which would be how they would connect to it. Like when your prosthesis provider would get you the rest of your leg and then your foot attachment, it would just connect to this, and then I could just connect one way on and off. So,
did you get to pick the connector that you had, or was it given to you by your doctor? Not given. I know you paid for it, but
it was communicated prior. So before we had the surgery, they communicated with my provider, letting them know, hey, this is the type of connection we're going to provide Carl with. So they knew ahead of time what that means that they would have to provide for the foot that I would need.
Do you know whether the type of connector you use affects the type of prosthetic? So let's say, for example, you want to be a runner. Do you need a different type of connector as opposed to someone who is maybe more stationary or does day-to-day mobility?
Potentially you would need a separate connector for a different type of leg, but not necessarily, because and it's really difficult today because this is so new and they're coming up with new devices like every day. There's new technology being introduced. But today, if you wanted to wear a Falar, which is what I use on my everyday leg, I wouldn't be able to, if my running leg is an Osser or an Autobot, it's not going to be the same connection because they're just two different companies. They have different connections. They have different height level requirements. So I would just say, me personally, I'm not a prosthetic provider, so I know there's so many different variations and height changes and things you could do to make it work.
Yeah.
But you have to have somebody who's experienced with osseointegration and understand those types of connections. They'll guide you.
So it seems to me, and we talked a little bit about this 2 weeks ago, as you are contemplating osseointegration surgery, this is a conversation that you need to have with your prosthetist as well, so that you know that they're comfortable as well finding devices that fit the type of connector that you have, and they're intimately involved in that process, right?
Correct. I started the conversation 2 months ago with them knowing and finding out what kind of connection it was going to be, preparing, researching, making sure already knowing the distance that I'm going to need to cover from the bottom to the to the floor. I'm going tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning to meet with them. So I'll have more to talk about once I talk to them.
You will, and we will actually have in a few weeks. We will have a guest from Union who is a prosthetist who's going to give us Prosthetics 101 and is going to include a discussion about how osseointegration connections are different from folks who use a socket, right? Correct. So stay tuned. October 8th, right here live, we will have a prosthetist answering all those questions and bringing lots of different things and different types of feet and hands and all kinds of things for us to talk about. Now, when we say connector, in my head, I'm thinking, well, it connects from your implant down, but it also connects to your implant. So the silver piece we're seeing here, that can come off. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. The implant obviously is staying implanted into your leg, but you're not stuck with one kind of connector. So in the future, if you need a second one, this is not an issue. You just pull it off and connect something else, right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Now, so we have a demonstration here, and I'd like you to talk about what this is and why we have it. What is this?
So this is just a typical scale that you'd probably have in your bathroom, right? So I put it on a stool just to make it a little more convenient for me because I'm standing and trying to basically put weight on it.
Okay.
So when I started last week, he put me at 25 pounds.
This is Dr. McDreamy?
Dr. McDreamy.
Okay.
So, essentially what he told me was start with 25 pounds and hold it for 3 to 5 seconds and then let off. Do that 15 times. And then take a little bit of a break, consider that one set, and then do another one, and do that twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. It takes 5 minutes. It doesn't take long.
And what are you trying to accomplish in doing that?
So every day, in theory, you can add 5 pounds.
Got it.
And then the goal is to build it up to at least half your body weight so that you could put a prosthetic leg on and then slowly start walking and putting pressure on daily. So
because prior to getting permission to do this, you were using a scooter or crutches. There was no weight bearing on your limb
weight
at all.
bearing. And even today, there's still no weight bearing. This morning I did my loading and I was able to hold 100 pounds.
Okay.
So somehow I'm way ahead. I did not expect that. I've been kind of leaping a little bit.
Okay.
But I feel comfortable and I could tolerate adding that much more weight. So when I first started, I think I was around 50.
50 pounds.
So from last Wednesday till today, in 1 week's time, in 7
doubled.
days, I went from, that 40 to 50 range during that first 2 days, and now I was over 90 this morning, 100% on every hold.
Could you describe for our viewers, and by the way, if you have questions at any time, feel free to interject or type them in the comments and we'll ask them. Okay. Could you describe for our viewers live or watching YouTube, what is the sensation, if any, when you are putting pressure on the scale?
So if I go too heavy, I can feel it.
And where do you feel it?
It's similar to having phantom pain. It tingles, it'll burn a little bit, or you feel like that little electrocution, tingly.
Like tingly kind of
like you're slowly,
burning?
I don't know if you've ever been a kid and you're out there on the horse farm and you put a straw.
I didn't live on a horse farm. What? Okay.
We used to see who could go closest. You'd hold a piece of straw and you'd slowly.
Oh, to the electric fence?
To the electric fence.
Oh,
and as you got closer, you'd start to feel it. It's the same sensation as I got closer, but you don't want to actually grab it, right? So you still feel it, so you know when to back off, and that's kind of the similar. Like I can feel it tingling. I know I'm going too heavy. I need to back off. So
I see. Okay.
But once I'm comfortable and I know the weight on the first 3 or 4. I realize, okay, I'm pretty comfortable between 90 and 95 pounds, so I just eyeball it and keep the scale in between 90 and 95 and just hold it for 3 to 5 seconds.
Okay. And by the way, we're not recommending anybody go try that with an electric fence to see what it feels like. Don't do that, please. Anyway, if you want to know the sensation, just read about it. Don't go try to test it with straw or whatever. I'm not sure where there's an electric fence. It's probably somewhere around here in Pittsburgh somewhere. Apparently nearby they have llamas. I've seen on the news lots of times. So maybe they've got an electric fence. So walk us back to the first day you did this. You're at your doctor's office, right?
That's right.
Dr. McDreamy's office.
Yep.
And so were you surprised that it was just like a bathroom scale? Or were you expecting it to be
that.
this? You did know that.
I did some research. I saw somebody in a physical therapy doing it. I saw what he did. I said, that's all you need is a scale. And he goes, yeah, essentially get yourself a little stool or put it on some books and off you go. I mean, this is a scale you could buy on Amazon for $20 or $30.
Did they send you home with this, or did you just buy it on Amazon?
I ordered on Amazon, and when I got the next day, it was delivered. Like it literally showed up the next day.
So there's nothing special about this scale. It's a straight up regular bathroom scale with the traditional dial numbers on it. It's not a digital scale or anything like that.
Yeah, actually, I think the number one selling digital is not digital. It's Sunbeam. I don't know if you know that. Sunbeam makes these. But Sunbeam was apparently so busy it was going to take 5 days to get their scale. But this one is the exact same thing. I got it in 1 day. So. And
the other thing I was surprised about, Carl, I was surprised about this, but I was also surprised that you're doing this without any professional supervision. You're not at a physical therapist's office or a doctor's office. You have instructions to do this on your own. And although I know you're smart and competent to do that, I kind of expected it to be under supervision.
They offered.
Oh, they did? Okay, tell us about that. What did they offer and what are you doing? Because that is important for people to know.
They wanted me to go speak and sit down with basically somebody who worked in physical therapy and have them walk me through it. And I'm like, I can just tell me,
Okay.
But outside of that, going into physical therapy to do this, just to me it takes me 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening.
Okay.
Maybe if I needed help with the handrails, holding my body weight or something, I could see in certain circumstances where that might be required and be helpful. But
I see.
I can stand pretty well on one leg.
Sure.
For a decent long time. But that's not everybody. I'm not super tall, so I'm a little grounded, and I've had some time to strengthen that left leg, and it's just I've learned to balance it properly, so it's a little easier for me. I don't necessarily think that's the norm. If you're even if you're just really tall, or if you're overweight, and it's going to be challenging to do that. You're going to need some assistive devices or handrails or things like that.
Or someone to help you, a partner to help you.
Yeah.
So as we said when we started, always talk to your doctor, follow your doctor's advice, but also know what's right for you. And if you feel like you're at a point where having a helper, whether it's at your home or at a professional's office, is appropriate, that's what we want you to do. We can help you navigate that. I see we have a question. So before we do our demo, I thought maybe we could look at the question here from Peter. Hi, Peter. Nice to meet you. So the question is, Carl, are you wearing a sock shrinker on the stump? What is the situation with that? Thanks.
You know what? I'm wearing a sock, but that was mostly because I was using it to hold my bandages on, and I just kind of got. And I always wear, we're always wearing liners when you're wearing a socket, so I got used to that.
You got used to having something on your leg.
Yeah, but the only reason I'm really wearing this, to be honest, is because I have a knee scooter, so it was just helping, with the friction being on my knee a lot while scooting to work or even through the airport.
When you were immediately post-operation, did you have to wear a shrinker or anything to contain the swelling?
No, I did not. There was no need for shrinkers. There was no need for wearing anything. They actually told me to leave it open as much as possible so that it could heal.
Yeah.
I can't take it off all the way because I have that device attached there, but you can see I still wrap it near the where it comes out.
Where the stoma is?
Because when the bone is healing, it does drain a little bit. So you're going to have very, very little, like in all day, you might have one drop kind of thing. But
Good to
I just do that because I don't want any opportunity for infection. So I keep it clean and I keep it wrapped, and this just helps hold that on.
Yeah.
But it's as soon as I get home, I take it off. When I'm in a comfortable spot where I'm just sitting or watching television, I don't have anything on, and it's fine.
And you, in the future, you would not have to wear a sock because you're not using a socket. So you could just...
No, that is one of the pros of osseointegration. There is no socket, there is no liner, there's no socks. You're able to connect your leg by using a torque screw, one screw, and you're off.
So for today, this is because A, you're kind of used to it, but B, you're using the knee scooter, and we don't want to have any friction or sores.
I actually wore a knee pad when I went to the airport because I was going to be going through. It took me an hour to get through the airport, so it was very nice to have that.
And thanks to Kim, who mentioned TSA Cares. Now we know next time you're going to call TSA Cares, get that set up so they can scoot you around.
I got a flight next month, and I was researching it a little different this way because I did realize, not to get off topic, but it is better for TSA if you do that.
Yes.
Like if you try to just do it yourself and go through the airport, they get, it's like you surprise them. They didn't see you coming, but if you're coming through and TSA knows, they're prepared, and it's better for everybody.
Yeah. In fact, and I want to stay off topic just for a moment because you relayed to us on a podcast that we recorded, which we will share the recording when it's edited and finalized so you all can watch it. But we talked real in detail about your travel experience.
Yeah.
And one thing that you shared is the experience of going through security in New York. And I wonder if you had used TSA Cares, if they would have been more prepared. Because
I
what
believe
happened?
So. I do believe, TSA job, I don't even want to go there. I'm sure they have their own stresses and anxieties for what they have to do on a daily. But the truth is, I flew out of Pittsburgh, and I flew out of LaGuardia. It was night and day. Pittsburgh is under construction, and somehow I still maneuvered through the airport, through security seamlessly without any interruption. It was fine. But coming back from LaGuardia, it was a whole different experience. Maybe it was a shift change. I don't know, but I was held up for quite a while. I was searched deeply. Where would I put anything different?
I don't know.
But it was a little awkward. I realized that this could be problematic for someone who's struggling and trying to get through the airport. And it's not everybody's going to have the ability to stand there on one leg or hop or just standing there for 20 minutes waiting to go through something.
I was going to say, you had to wait quite a while for someone to come.
Yeah,
right?
And if you have any kind of, if you're self-conscious or you don't, not everybody's super personable and wants to be stared at. And let me tell you, when you're sitting in a security line and they pull you to the side and have you just stand there and everybody's walking through, everybody's thinking, what did this guy do? Why is he sitting there? Why isn't he going through? And some people were like, even, oh, are you next? And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm being told to wait,
Yeah, you get either people who are side-eyeing you, or they're mad because you're waiting, or they're trying to usher you to go forward, or they're like, is that guy a terrorist? Can we say that word on?
No.
I'm not sure. Forget I said that word. Are you questionable, we'll say. Okay. All right. So
They're not profiling amputees or anything.
We could cover. The advocate in me is starting to scream just thinking about this. That'll be a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
I saw a question on here from, I think it was Crystal, and I wanted to ask it because it goes into, thank you, Crystal, a beautiful segue into your demonstration. So Crystal asks, can you feel that in your bone when you put weight on it?
Yes.
You can. Okay. So talk to us a little bit about that. What does it feel like? Is it more the staticky kind of feeling, or does it feel different? Like, is there a pressure?
Yeah, I think it feels like pressure, or
Okay.
you could tell it's gripping, but when I finish it, there is some, like, it takes a little bit to calm down. You can tell I agitated it, but that's kind of what you're hoping for. That's the you're kind of pushing for that bone growth, and you're trying to stimulate that. So, but it's hard to explain, but you can feel it like it's tighter.
I see.
So other than that, a little electrical feeling, that tingling, you can definitely feel that there's an implant inside, or like you feel that connection, and it's actually not bad. I mean, it's better than when you're first trying on a socket and you have to feel the uncomfort, or you're trying to put, when you first put it on, it's super tight,
Yeah.
And so it's definitely different, but it's nothing that I don't think any amputee wouldn't be used to in this situation of understanding, am I going too far with this or not?
So, Carl, and I want you to do the demo in a moment here, but have you experienced, or do you expect to experience, any increase in phantom pains as your brain is starting to kind of reconnect that, oh, now there is sensation here?
Yeah. That's it. That's one of the pros of osseointegration, is it does help with phantom pain, because you have a direct connect. So you're right. Your brain starts to pick up on that. Those nerve endings have something to respond to.
I see.
But it's hard for me to kind of get into that because I haven't had a leg yet to walk and but when I do feel phantom pain, it's tapping it. Just a little bit of feeling down there makes it go away.
Because your brain is now realizing
Correct.
where it's coming from, as opposed to trying to connect it down to a lower part of your body that doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly.
Got it. So that would be a good conversation we can have with Carolyn when she's here in a few weeks, so that we can hear kind of what she thinks on the prosthetist side about what phantom pain might not look like, how it will develop. I see we have some more comments. We can read them unless Angie or Lucho wants to read them. And then I would love for you to do a demonstration for us. Is anyone on your side, on the other side of the screen? Y'all can't see them. We've got two lovely people who work with us who are on the other side of the screen. What other comments do we have on here?
So we have John, who says, I always get a wheelchair when going through an airport. You get through TSA so much easier.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Kim responded to that, and she said, it's usually like that.
Yeah. Yep. TSA Cares is very helpful. And Kim also did a session with us. You can watch her recording too on YouTube.
And Crystal has her hand up.
Oh, hi, Crystal. Hi, Crystal. Go ahead. You can unmute. If you have a question, this is the time.
Yeah, so I'm sure this is more geared toward a medical professional, but I have hardware in both legs, even the one that was amputated. Do you think that would be a factor in the osseointegration process?
I also had hardware removed when I had my leg amputated, but it was not an issue at all. The hardware, as long as it's not in the same bone that you're going to be putting the implant, I don't think you'll have any concerns.
Yeah, that's definitely something, Crystal, if you're considering this, we can help you get set up with a consult if you would like. Definitely run that by your doctor so we know specifically for you if you're interested. And if you're not, that's cool too. But if you would like some guidance on getting that set up and help with it, we'd love to do that for you. Okay.
Yeah, definitely later down the road. My amputation was in March of this year, but I had 2 clean outs. They've had to go back in and clean out my incision. So I'm still healing from the last one. So definitely that may be something for me to look into in the future, and I'll get in touch with you guys for that.
Sure. And thank you for sharing that, and also for joining us. We've seen you here several weeks, and that means a lot to us that you keep coming back. And especially since you're newer to your journey, that's helpful for us to know, Crystal, for you and everybody else, where you are at in your journey and what you are experiencing, so that we can bring topics to you all and guests that resonate with you. Because we could talk all day, right? And we could karaoke and do all kinds of things or throw some jokes. And hopefully that entertains some of you some of the time. But we'd like to share things that are helpful for all of you too. So thank you for sharing that, Crystal. And as always, if anyone else has any questions or comments, feel free to jump in. Carl, I thought we could turn to a demonstration. I should say for everyone up front, I saw that Todd has joined us again. And Todd is the founder of Amputee Walking School. And a very well-respected professional and trained physical therapist. He trains folks how to walk and run. So if you didn't hear us earlier, Todd, let me just say, we told everybody talk to your professional, okay? And follow your professional's advice. What we're showing is what Carl does only. So just want to have that giant disclaimer, okay? So Carl, knowing that, hi, Todd. Thank you for saying hi to everyone in the chat. Why don't you walk us through what you were instructed to do and kind of how it works?
So, very simply put, you're going to stand up and put downward pressure and then hold it for 3 to 5 seconds. Then you're going to do that 15 times.
Okay.
And then you're going to do it again.
Okay.
So 30 reps total, 60 all in a day. So 2 different sessions.
When do you do yours?
I typically do mine before I leave in the morning.
Okay.
Whatever time that would be, that's the last thing I do before walking out the door. And then after dinner.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I keep it in the kitchen, so I have my coffee there, or finish dinner, and then I'm already sitting at the table, kind of thing.
And do you? How do you know when, if at all, to increase the pressure?
Every day, you want to add weight. So in the morning, I'm kind of engaging myself to see where I'm at, and as long as I'm comfortable with the first 3, I'll try to hold that weight for that whole day in that repetition.
I see.
So every morning, it's a little exciting. I kind of challenge myself to see where I'm going to be. And actually, this morning, I wanted to see just how far I could push it without causing any alarm, But I didn't feel a lot of pressure until I went over 100 pounds.
So you're listening to and responding to your body and being very sensitive to what the sensation is. Is there a certain amount of weight that you have to put on every week or every day, like 1 pound more, 5 pounds more, or does it depend on how you did?
He recommended 5 pounds a day.
5 pounds a day. Okay. And so let's see how it works.
Yeah. So basically, you just want to stand and be comfortable, and then just slowly push down, and then keep an eye on the weight. Once you get to where you want to be, you just want to hold it.
Okay.
And for 3 to 5 seconds.
You just kind of count to 3 or count to 5, and then you're done?
That's it. 1. I lose count every time. I probably do 20,
Okay.
Doesn't hurt. But yeah, I'm right there at 90, and then I just back off. It's really that simple. You want to be careful. You don't want any side or forward, pressure.
And why is
just
that?
Upward pressure. Because you're trying to get it to seat properly. You want that healing first before you put any kind of torque on this.
So seating refers to I would call it like the settling or the kind of firming up, so to speak, of the implant.
Yeah, correct.
So we want to just kind of stay straight, as opposed to if you were to do side pressure, it might kind of tilt one way or the other.
Yeah, you don't want to torque it like that, because that would cause it. I think they use the term shear. That's going to be the last thing to heal, and that could cause you problems. So.
In fact, you had recommended to folks a few weeks ago that they talk to other people who have had this surgery, and in doing research, you encountered someone who actually did have that happen, where there was a torquing or a twisting. And what did you learn about that?
Well, I learned. I think I just accidentally. I couldn't hear.
Oh, we were going to go a full episode without any audio issues, and Carl had to mess it up for us. Okay, say something and let's make sure they can hear us. Say hi.
Can you hear me?
Can we see some thumbs up if you can hear Carl?
Yeah, I don't think the microphone ever unplugged.
Okay.
It was just my headphones. I couldn't.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, everybody. Anyway, so what did you learn about if there's some twisting or torquing or shearing? What happens?
So he was an athlete, and he was just ready to go. He was really active in the gym, and truth is, he just went too soon, and he was trying to. I believe he was deadlifting, which is basically standing, bending forward like a row and then standing up with the weight. And he wasn't ready for that. It was too soon. And he did it moved slightly.
Okay.
And that caused him to have to go back and have it removed and reseated again.
Okay.
So it
you
could cause you problems.
you said an interesting phrase to me, which was too soon. And although I am not your doctor and I am not the patient and I can't tell you what to do, I have to be honest with you. I was thinking that this process for you would take much longer than it actually is.
Yeah.
Did you think that too?
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole goal is don't rush it, do it right.
Right.
And, but I mean, you know your body.
Yeah.
I'm excited because it is going much faster than I thought. I would never thought I would be being able to put 100 pounds on this in a week. I thought it would take 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you know? And they told me, they said, if it takes 4 weeks, it takes 4 weeks. If it takes 6, it takes 6. Don't push it. Just do what you're comfortable with. It just specifically for me, I was able to go a little faster and I was able to, because I started at almost 50, 60 pounds.
So I think that's the third takeaway from today. The first being always talk to your doctor and get a consultation. The second being listen to your body and be mindful and responsive to your body. Okay, not what someone says on the internet or a webinar, as much as we love ours. And number 3, take the time that's necessary. If it takes 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, take it, right? Rather do it the right way than to have something happen like the gentleman that you mentioned, or develop an infection, which can be so hard for people, right? So what is the goal with this weight-bearing process?
I mean, the goal is it's nice because it's basically giving me instant feedback. But the goal is to get to a point where you can carry half your body weight without having any pain.
Okay.
So you can attach a leg and start basically adding that other pressure. So it's still a process. Even after you get your leg, you're still going to keep the crutches because you don't want to throw a lot of weight on it. Like walking up and down stairs is still different pressure.
Yeah.
So it's going to take another 4 weeks, even with a leg, to still build up that strength. It's not 100% healed yet. So the full process is 90 days. Like it's going to take 90 days to get to a point where you're comfortable walking in your new prosthetic.
So for you, you're almost at 100 pounds now. Or did you say you already met 100 pounds?
No. I was able to hit 100 pounds, but I couldn't maintain it. I wasn't ready.
Okay. So once you maintain 100 pounds, what does the next phase look like for you?
At that point, I would be able to have my leg attached and start walking with a leg slowly. So I can probably still have a cane or something just to be safe, you know, just to help with your walking, because you don't want to, if you're falling and you have to catch yourself, it could be devastating. You don't want anything. So you still have to be careful, but everyday walking is actually going to help build it faster and faster.
So will you go directly to your prosthetist after that, or do you have a follow-up doctor's appointment first, or does it just depend on?
I have my first meeting tomorrow to get measured for a prosthetic to make sure it works. Meaning, like, I have some prosthetics. We're hoping that they can just make some adjustments on my previous ones. But outside of that, as long as the connection works and they can figure out the distance and it works, then they're just waiting on me at that point.
I see.
And then my next follow-up appointment is November 17th. And the reason we pushed it all the way to November 17th was because we wanted to make sure that at that point I was in a leg and walking on my own without crutches.
And I want to talk about that phase next, but I see that we have another question posted. So let's look at that. And hi, Dean in Hollywood. Thank you for putting where you are. If you've joined us after we started, please put your location in the chat. If you're watching us on YouTube, put your location in the comments so we know where everybody is and how far we've reached. So this one says, this is from Crystal, thank you. Are there any long-term side effects after having this procedure? And can your body reject it? So yes and yes are the short answers. There can be side effects, and yes, your body can actually reject it. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I don't know of some cases where it was rejected. That could be, I mean, anybody that has hardware, whether it's a screw or anything, you could potentially have problems.
Or a larger infection where you have to have it removed.
Yeah. So, but infection is the biggest side effect that you're going to, because you now have an open stoma. So, swimming in lakes and rivers is just forget it. unless you're stupid like me, you should not do that. So, you'd have to really protect yourself if you did. You'd want to cover it, seal it, and then even after you get out, you want to keep it clean and just what you do not want to risk an infection.
Right.
Now, so most infections can be cleared up with over-the-counter medications or antibiotic creams and things like that. If it gets bad, then you can take antibiotics. However, if you get a serious infection, it could be debilitating. It could make it worse. So it's not something to take lightly. You need to make sure that you're truly vetting that side of things when you're considering osseointegration.
Yes. And for some people, including people we've talked to, for them, those risks were not worth it.
Right.
They would rather stay in a socket. It made sense for them. They were comfortable with it. They knew what the risks were already, and they didn't want to take that risk. And for those folks, we respect that decision. That's a decision that you make on your own, right? We don't want to suggest, although Carl's experience so far, knock on wood, is a good one. We don't want to suggest that that's the same for everybody.
It's not. And I went to see an infectious disease doctor, so I got counseled by her. I took antibiotics just to be safe, and these were those really strong antibiotics that can reach your bone. So you could have dormant infections inside you from bacteria from when you were a child. You don't know. So it's difficult to really engage that and say you're healthy, so don't worry about it. You're still at risk. It was for me. I was so concerned about that risk that because I have pets. I have 5 children live in the house, so
and all their friends.
So it's even sitting on the couch. Could be a concern if you have pets and they were outside rolling around. You never know. So I actually stayed. I rented a place for a week just to ensure I had a nice, sterile, clean spot because I didn't want to risk, especially in that first week. That's when you're very healing and you don't want to have any issues. So you have to be mindful, but that's the biggest. I would say that's the number one concern with osseointegration.
Yeah. So I said we'd come back to your next appointment, which is November 17th.
Correct.
And what is the goal or kind of what's on the agenda for that appointment?
They'll probably do another x-ray to see how it's healing and see what it looks like, just to verify everything's going well. It should be a very positive experience at that point. We're just going to be, diving into any kind of issues or concerns. But that should be the final follow-up, honestly. At that point, we're off to the races. Literally
and figuratively, because you shared on our podcast that one of your goals is to get back to running within a period of time.
That's correct, yeah.
So tell us more about that.
I enjoy triathlons, biking, swimming, and running. So I used to, when I was younger, enjoy going to the gym and working out, but as you get older, joints aren't as great as they used to be. So, but I've found a new love, and that's what I like doing. That's what I like. I feel like that's what keeps me from turning into a 400-pound person.
Okay, so
I have refused to change my diet. Instead, I just decided I'll do triathlons. So
it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
So, and I want to stick on that topic for a moment, which is physical activity and fitness. So start thinking of your answer, because for all of you, we have about 10 minutes left in our time together, and we're going to use some of that to talk about some sessions that we have coming up. So if you have a question that you really want to ask Carl about osseointegration, now is the time to either raise your hand, just unmute and interject, or place it in the comments so that we can get to it before we shift gears and close our session for today. So while you're thinking about those, if you have any questions, Carl, what are you doing to stay physically fit and physically healthy, considering that you're not able to go out running, you're not swimming, I don't think, right now?
No, I can't get in the pool yet. They told me not to get in the pool for, I think they said to wait till at least mid-October. So,
why is that?
Just to make sure it's completely healed. You don't, you never know what's in a pool. Even in chlorinated, their salt pools are even better, but they still could have bacteria in them. You don't know. So it's not worth the risk. And I don't really need to do it. It's not that, I'm not training for the Olympics or anything. So, but I will say I miss it, but at the same time, I've been feeling, I haven't done anything, to answer your question.
Okay.
It's
Being
every
transparent.
day I'm working out because I'm using crutches. I'm scooting. I'm getting exercise,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not. But I'm not formally going to a gym.
Yeah.
I do have a goal to go back to the gym, but it also brings other concerns, right? So it's not like you can pick up things and walk with them.
Right.
So if I'm sitting on a bench or machines that are in most gyms that you go to, you can certainly work out. I feel I'm ready to do that now. So
Yeah.
a month in, I am itching to go back to the gym and actually get some, back to actually lifting weights or something along those lines. But no running, no biking, no swimming. So
Okay. Is there a period of time after you start using your prosthetic leg that you will still not be able to engage in those activities?
yeah,
Okay.
I think once I can attach a leg, I can swim. I'll
can
be able
swim.
to safely get it out of a pool. I can still wrap it and waterproof it if I need to. It's not
Okay.
Swimming should be one of the first things I'll be able to go back
Yeah.
into. Biking would probably be a second, but down the road yet. Running is the hardest part of osseointegration. It's not meant for runners. But they've come a long way, and there's many people with osseointegration that run. So I'm looking forward to it, but it's probably going to be January, potentially February before I can run it.
Do you anticipate having any issues with relearning how to walk or run now that you have a different kind of connection with your prosthetic?
They said yes, that there'll
Okay.
be a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah.
But there was a learning curve when I put on my first prosthetic,
Right.
but it's not as bad as I think people really, it can be, depending on how much trauma you had from your amputation or how long it's been. But for me, I don't think it was an issue. I remember I went right back into walking.
Okay.
My gait probably took longer to get the prosthetic right more than my gait,
Yeah.
because you do have to be conscious about that. Like, we make a mistake. A lot of amputees make this mistake. They go out there and they feel something is off, but instead of fixing the prosthetic, they change their gait or they change how they walk. And they compensate instead of having the prosthetic fit properly or have the right height. And so there's a lot of tricks to that, and prosthetic providers will help you through that.
Exactly. Such a great point is to have a well-trained prosthetic provider, physical therapist, doctor who's aware of those changes with your gait.
Yeah.
Todd could talk to us about that. That's what Amputee Walking School does. So that's so important. So we have a couple other questions that we wanted to get to before we talk about our upcoming sessions. So, and Kim, thank you for sharing that. Chair exercises. Ooh, Zumba and boxing on the chair. Okay, we might have to do Zumba in the office.
I'm in.
Okay, great. Y'all heard it on here. It's on recording. Peter, how long did you use a traditional prosthetic leg socket before considering this surgery? And then Crystal, does weight play a factor in OI? Great question.
Todd had a question too.
Oh, Todd had a question
How to
too.
Choose to have OI. I chose because I was not happy with my socket, and I wanted a more efficient way of not having liners and dealing with 3 different legs for every exercise. And honestly, I was having rashes. I just felt like osseointegration was right for me, so that's why I chose to do it. Really, biggest number one reason was to make my life more efficient.
Yeah.
So
And for you, I think for anyone, does weight play a factor in OI? It can. I think that's another question to have with your doctor.
it definitely would. But I'm 200 pounds today, but I promise you, when I'm active and training, I could be anywhere from 200 to 220. So, and I get it. When you're an amputee, you do fight that. Like, it's not about losing weight or trying to stay healthy. It's also, don't gain weight, don't lose weight. Just stay where you're at, because you want that prosthetic to fit properly, especially sockets. None of us are getting younger, so you're gonna fluctuate, and then you have water weight and things, bad days, better days. You ate too much salt, so
It's Christmas and there are cookies everywhere.
And then your socket doesn't fit, So it's. I remember thinking, like, well, I better be careful. I don't want to lose too much weight. My socket won't fit. So it goes both ways. But weight is always a factor. But as far as whether or not you can get osseointegration, I don't think it should be.
Yeah.
But that's up to you and the conversation you have with your provider, I guess. But
Exactly.
and
And
then-
related to that question about why you got the surgery is how long you were using a socket before you decided to get the surgery.
I had my amputation was February 2022. I was in a socket in May, and so I was well over 3 years in a socket before I went osseointegration.
Yeah. And if any of you are interested in learning more about Carl's thought process, his research process, how he negotiated the costs, we have a webinar that we recorded as well as a podcast on YouTube. And you can watch those. You can also reach right out to us, and we'd love to talk to you about it. On amputee-aid.com, there's a little button at the top that says Get Help. You click it, put in your information, a little bit about yourself, and we personally, it's not a bot, we will get a hold of you and talk to you about that. We can answer any other questions that you have about it.
Yeah, we love talking about it. So
We do. Clearly, we love talking about it. And Kim had a comment here, which I think is really important. Diabetes also was a concern. Yes, any co-occurring medical issues that you have or something that you want to share with your doctor and talk about with respect to how it may affect your healing, your prognosis, recovery time, potentials for infections, difficulties you might have. And frankly, Carl, I think that also includes your mental health. If you have someone who's struggling, if you're struggling with mental health issues and you're going to be at a period of time where you're not as ambulatory as you used to be, there might be pain. That's something that you also want to take seriously, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, people talk about missing out all the time. You know, like that's real for sure. And I will say, thanks for bringing it up, Kim. But I mean, diabetes definitely brings a whole new light to this conversation. There's, for me, I don't know if I think osseointegration is right when you have diabetes because there's so many other complications that go with diabetes versus someone who lost their leg because of an accident or trauma. Diabetes can make it more difficult, especially when you have already that seed planted in the back of your head that says, I have diabetes. It's potentially I could lose more, where they have to keep going higher. So that's that mental thing that you're living with every day is never good. And then on top of that, you have to, if you want to do osseointegration and put yourself through all that, only to find out that you have to remove. And
It can be really hard.
It's just, I couldn't imagine that. And I know it would be very difficult for somebody. But again, talk to your provider, but make sure if that's a concern that you bring it up.
Right.
For sure.
Anything. There's lots of issues with including complications from infections and all kinds of things. I see that Crystal had a question. We'd love to answer your question, and then we're going to detour and talk about some fun things that we have coming up. And before we do that, Crystal, I see Shane on here, and I didn't say hi to Shane earlier. We love Shane. Hi, Shane. Thank you for joining us, and everybody else for joining us too. But Shane, we haven't seen him in a while, so good to see you. Thank you for joining us today. Go ahead, Crystal. Ask your question.
Yeah, did they mention anything to you about how long or do you need to be in a socket for a certain amount of time before you get the procedure done?
Great question.
No, there are some people that have osseointegration at the time of the amputation, so they just skip right through the socket.
Yeah.
So that's a thing, and maybe not here in the United States, but overseas that's probably the norm actually.
But also excellent questions to ask with your doctor. And one thing that you had suggested during our session 2 weeks ago is writing out all the questions that you might have. Put them in the notes app on your phone, bring them with you, or for you, bring a support person, whether it's your spouse, like you, a friend. Yeah. You can have us call in or dial in and ask questions for you.
Tina was even saying that she was told she had to wait a year.
Yeah.
So there you go. At least a year if you're in a socket or here, depending on your provider or your physician, they may
and what
change
kind of
that,
amputation you have, what the status of your limb is, whether there's bulging or what kind of. So there's lots and lots of variables here. But for you, it wasn't an issue.
Yeah, I know. I would say above the knee, there's a little more out there. There's more people doing it. There's less people doing below the knee. But I'll be honest with you, I think there's pros and cons to that too. When there's a lot of physicians doing something, it's hard to say, well, who's the best? When there's only 5 in the whole country doing it, you can bet that they're really good. So, and I do believe that that's the other thing. We talked about infection, but you got to make sure you're talking to the right surgeon for you,
right.
That they understand exactly why you're doing it so they can guide you. Not all surgeons are the same. I had a wonderful surgeon. I don't know what it would have been like, if I had a surgeon that was, first time doing it or something like. I get it when insurance is involved. Sometimes you don't have a choice, but I know that'll be a decision that you'll have to make on your own. But for me, the choice was to make sure I found the best provider for that would really be there and feel comfortable with. So.
And do you want to shout him out? Because although we've referred to him as Dr. McDreamy, that is not actually his name. Who was
you
your
can
surgeon?
Research him. He is at HSS, but Dr. Taylor Reif.
Yeah, Dr. Taylor Reif.
REIF. He was fantastic, and not just his bedside manner, but how well he, prepared me. I was over-prepared. I was expecting a lot of things, and it worked out. He said, "Well, I'm glad that's a great outcome, Carl. But that's because you put the work in." He was very optimistic, but at the same time, he prepared me.
Yeah. And although you're not quite using your prosthetic yet, we've got several months before we'll be running. Yeah. Maybe next year you'll be able to run the Sears Tower like Jamie's doing. I saw Jamie on here, and he'll be. If y'all are not following Jamie on social media, please do, because you can support. Hi, Jamie. You can support him in his running the Sears Tower coming up, and maybe next
November,
year.
Right?
When is it, Jamie, that you're doing that? We keep asking him every time. I know it's in November, right? Yeah, he's saying yes. So and so if you want to know more about that, you can check out Jamie's social media. Maybe next year you can join him.
I absolutely will be joining Jamie next year, for sure.
So let's talk about some things that we have coming up as we're wrapping up our session for today. We try to keep you all just for an hour because we thank you for gracing us with your time. And as I said, we could talk all day about these things and throw in some karaoke as well. We have guest speakers and lots of topics coming up. Although this is the first week of fall, we're already talking about holiday time. Okay. One of our sessions in November is holiday gifts for amputees. And if you show up, you can get in on some giveaways. All right. I'm just planting that seed now. There will be some registration involved because we'll be giving some things away. Okay?
So drumsticks not on the menu for amputees?
No, we're not giving away Escalades or Maseratis or trips to Florida unless I can get a donation. And I love getting donations. Okay. But there will be. So we're going to do a session in November about that. But next week, October 1st, we are going to have a father-son team here, Richard and Trey Volker, and they are from a company called Impact. And Impact sell health sharing coverage. All right. So I want to say up front, we're not getting any kickback here. We're not saying that this is going to be the best solution for everyone, but I think you will find what health sharing is informative, at least to educate yourself on an option that's an alternative to health insurance that may or may not be right for you, whether you have some concerns about family coverage, the cost of coverage, you're looking for other types of coverage like gym memberships and those kinds of things. It's at least worth having the conversation because I got to sit in on a meeting with these folks and I was able to ask questions about the insurance industry, and they gave me the honest, transparent answer, not the salesman answer, which I appreciated. So we're going to talk about what health sharing is and how it may benefit folks with limb loss or limb difference. All right, so that's something that you can consider coming to just to educate yourself if you'd like. The following week, we'll have Carolyn Calabrese here from Union, and she's a prosthetist, and she's going to be bringing lots of things and doing a demo for all different types of prosthetic devices, and she will answer questions as well, okay?
Shane saw me at the Ritual House.
That's why you joined. Okay, Shane, now we know where to find you.
That's awesome.
So
should have said hi.
We'll have that on October 8th, and we'll send the updates to all of you. That'll be a Q&A live here, so if you have questions about particular types of joints, if you're looking for a type of foot, if you want to know more about running or a robotic hand, come to that session on October 8th. I'm excited for that
session. I can't wait to talk with her.
She's going to bring lots of stuff here. I didn't tell her there's a large stairwell to climb up, but
we'll help her.
We'll help her with that. Then we're going to have 2 sessions with Calm Pittsburgh. We'll have one in October and one in November. Calm Pittsburgh is a therapy group here in the Pittsburgh area, and they will be here talking about grief, relationships, the R word, as we talked about, intimacy, all of those questions, social well-being, emotional well-being. They have a mini presentation for us, and then they're going to give us some tips and tricks for mindfulness, how to get out there. If you're someone who's looking at dating, which we had some questions about last week, though they'll be available to us for 2 sessions on all things mental health and emotional well-being related. We're also going to be doing in November a live demonstration at UFC Gym. We're going to be talking physical fitness for people with limb loss and limb difference.
That place is awesome.
And so we'll be there with our fancy Amputee Aid running shirts that we recently ordered. And we'll be doing some live demos for physical fitness. Okay.
Awesome.
So we've got all kinds of things coming up. So I mentioned Calm Pittsburgh. I mentioned Impact on Health Sharing. Union's going to be here. We will also have 2 sessions with Mary Kay. And yes, I do mean Mary Kay, the makeup company. And before you all roll your eyes, just hold it for a minute. Okay. Kim McClure is a person with lived experience. She supports folks with limb loss and limb difference, including her grandfather, who she grew up with, who was a bilateral amputee and veteran. Kim McClure teaches skincare, okay, men and women. And if you register for those sessions, you're going to get free stuff. So everybody likes free stuff. So whether it's you, somebody you live with, your neighbor, your dog sitter, your child, your grandparent, anyone. It doesn't have to be you. But please, when you get the invite for that one, please consider signing up because you're going to get stuff for free. If you don't use it, throw it in a Christmas gift or a Hanukkah gift or New Year's Eve gift and give it away. All right. So there's all kinds of things coming up, and we wanted to highlight those. Awesome. And as we're sharing our recordings every Friday, if you're on our mailing list, we will also include the schedule of events coming up so that you can plan and you can share and promote Life Amplified as well. So on that note, Carl, I think we can kind of wrap up for today. What do you think?
We can, but hey, one more shout out to the Ritual House. So if you're ever in Pittsburgh and you want to grab a nice lunch or a dinner, that place is amazing because when I went in there today, I said, hey, do you think you can seat me down here? I didn't bring my crutches. I was on the scooter, and their stairs are like these industrial metal things. And the lady's like, oh, I got an elevator. I had no idea the place has an elevator. So she took me around and took me right up the elevator, and I didn't have to do anything.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
Good to know.
It was better than the TSA experience at LaGuardia, for sure.
There you go. Yes. Ritual House beats TSA. Okay, that's a good way to end for today. Yeah. We love TSA. We love everyone who keeps us safe. You know, Ritual House, you had an elevator, you got a good lunch. Yeah. And now we got to talk all about OI Part 2 today. So thank you for that.
Yep.
So, as always, we keep our recordings. They're on our YouTube channel. Just look up Amputee Aid. Look for our pretty orange and blue logo, and you can see them. We'd love to have you all back here next week for an informative discussion on health sharing and health insurance. Also Q&A, so bring your questions with you. And until next time, have a lovely week. Enjoy the rest of the first week of fall, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all for showing up. We'll see you next Wednesday at 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Zoom. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.